Fearless and truthful.
Provocative and controversial.
We say it like it really is.
With dignity and respect. Committed to free speech and common sense. Upbeat and entertaining.
Straight talking and direct.
We may agitate each other and you.
Thought-provoking, provocative and controversial.
Hello and welcome to The Pledge. Now this week, Forbes unveiled the best paid TV presenters in the world. Judy Sheindlin, better known as Judge Judy, topped the list, earning nearly $150 million a year. Of course, presenters should be paid according to how good they are and what they contribute to the programme, which is why Majid, Karen and I are paid handsomely. Afua gets half of what we do, and Nick is forced to work for free.
It's true, it's true.
Coming up, Afua says we need to get mating. Majid thinks the thin blue line are treading on thin ice. Karen wants us to embrace our inner artist, and Nick is trying to escape. But first, it's me. Brexit was supposed to be an opportunity to build a bigger, better global Britain. Instead, our ineffectual PM has delivered a deal that has not only sold out Gibraltar, Northern Ireland, our fishermen and 17.4 million people, she has also reduced this mother of all democracies to a powerless colony which will be forever enslaved by the EU. But worse, in order to get her farcical deal through Parliament, she's now trying to manipulate the British people with the kind of malevolent propaganda not seen since World War II. Propaganda about a no deal, meaning we'll run out of food, medicines and water, the economy will crash, and we'll have the worst recession in a century. Mrs May insists this is the best deal she could get, like Brexit is some sorry damage limitation exercise, when had she had some guts and determination, it could have been a bright new dawn for this country. And forget her much trumpeted resilience. That doesn't excuse this catastrophic deal that is 100% her fault. This week, in her letter to the British people, Mrs May said she put her heart and soul into campaigning for the best deal. Pity she hadn't put her heart and soul into standing up to Barnier and co. If she had, this once great nation might not now be a worldwide object of derision and pity.
Carole, you know, I agree with so much of what you've just said.
Really?
This is a hopeless deal. This deal is dead as a dodo, even before the vote. It's what was called in the House of Lords recently, a debate we had on the issue, a hokey-cokey Brexit. In, out, shake it all about. And it's a lose-lose for everybody. Nobody wins out of this deal at all. And I think that we've come to the stage now, 2.5 years of negotiation. What I don't agree with what you've said is that the EU is being made to be the bogeyman. The EU is the bad person. They bullied us. They have not. They've just said, you want to leave. You've put down your red lines that no more single market, no more customs union, no more European Court of Justice, no more movement of people. You've boxed yourselves in, and then you have Northern Ireland, the Achilles heel of Brexit, which is a circle that cannot be squared, and now you're blaming us. And all these years, for 45 years, you've opted into the European Union, what is today the European Union, and you've had lots of opt-outs. You're not in Schengen, you're not in the euro. Now you want to opt out, and you want all the opt-ins.
To be fair, Karen, I'm not actually blaming it on you, I'm blaming her. I'm blaming her for not being a bit more gutsy in negotiations.
Well, whoever you blame, the position we're in now, and what I've hated about the position she's taken throughout is, it's my deal, or no deal.
Exactly.
It's only recently she has started to say, or no Brexit. So there is another option, and I don't think it's a Hobson's choice of a bad deal, which this is, or no deal. There is another option, which is we remain in the European Union, probably through a people's vote.
But that's an option that would betray democracy.
No, not really. And there's another option as a compromise, which is staying in the European EEA. The Norway option is a compromise, the least worst option. In fact, I was one of the named amendment leaders where we won this vote in the House of Lords as the least worst option.
Just what is wrong with the no deal option? I mean, you might, in that intro, I mentioned the propaganda that we're seeing now, which I think is shocking. I mean, the stuff that Mark Carney has come out with this week is shocking. You know, the stuff
It is shocking. It's worrying.
It's not worrying because it's not. It's simply simply not true. And even he has said that this is not a forecast. Let's go
Can we
over
look
what
at the
he said.
figures? Look at the figures.
Well,
Look at the figures.
let's just look at what Carney has said. 1 million jobs lost, 30% drop in house prices, the worst recession in 100 years. Nothing that man has said before, during or after the referendum turned out to be true and isn't now. What he's doing is trying to terrify people, and it's just not right.
Can we just go to let's just have a look at what the specifics of Theresa May's deal are, and then, if I may, I'll comment on that. So, Theresa May, let's take a look. She says the deal consists of a transition period that guarantees a transition period from the 31st of March 2019 to December 2020. It will guarantee the rights of EU citizens in the UK and UK citizens in the EU. Tariff-free trade, I should say, will continue. There are assurances that a soft border will be maintained with the Republic of Ireland, but we will be paying a divorce bill of around £39 billion. Now, this, of course, is her spin on her deal, right? I don't agree. I agree with Karen, of course, that I think this is a bad both of you, I think this is a bad option for us. But just on the point of no deal, if I may, I think Canada took 7 years to negotiate the particular deal they have with the European Union, and that's without passporting rights for the City of London. I just worry that without talking of blame, I think we need to, all of us probably need to move beyond blame and talk about who's at fault for this, and actually start looking at the future and how we can plan it best. I just think that actually a no-deal Brexit without any form of agreement on passporting rights, on non-tariff barriers to trade, on the existing legal contracts that we may have, it will be inevitable in that scenario that things will come to a halt until we reinstitute those agreements.
Did you read Tony Abbott, the Australian PM's, he did a piece this week outlining a scenario, a no-deal scenario, which said we'd go straight to WTO rules. We wouldn't impose tariff on European goods, and he said if they have any sense, wouldn't impose any on yours.
No deal, by the way, is not an option, because the country will not accept it, and Parliament will not accept it.
Have decided
because
that.
it is disastrous.
I think if you ask the people of this country, they'd want it.
It's not just Mark Carney, I mean, who's been described by Jacob Rees-Mogg as a failed Canadian politician.
Yeah.
Now, that is the sort of way people are being attacked at the moment. What about the Treasury forecast? The Treasury forecasts correlate with the Bank of England's forecast.
Well, they write
Philip
after
Hammond,
the referendum,
the Chancellor as well. Let's look at the figures. Let's look at the Treasury forecast figures. They say, they've analysed the cost of Brexit looking at a 15-year period. They say the UK's economic growth would be 2.5% under the government's Chequers plan, 6.7% less an average free trade deal, and it would be 9.3% less under a no-deal Brexit.
You really think the Treasury gets it right? You really think they got it right?
Afra and I have been having our own little conversation. I just need to say that, of course, Mark Carney's figures are worst-case scenario projections. Yes. Come back to me in a moment, Afra.
Well, it's interesting to hear people who support Brexit lining up to attack the Treasury, the Bank of England, the IFS. If you know a secret method to accurate economic forecast better than these institutions which do this, which is what they do.
Carney has said today it's not a forecast.
It's the instinct to attack the person delivering the bad news rather than analysing the bad news that worries me. But Carole, I respect your opinion. We're not going to agree. There's no point rehashing all of the arguments.
Would you accept it's not a forecast and it's not used?
I have a question. Because what I found really interesting in the last few days is to see Brexiteers saying, what we're facing is worse than remaining in the EU. Rob has said it, Aaron Banks has said it. My question for you is, if you think that what the people really voted for here is a no-deal scenario, would you be willing to put that back to people in a second vote? Because now Brexiteers are saying they too want a second referendum, because this was not the terms of the original offer.
I love it.
Nobody said...
I love the deal.
Nobody said no deal.
Really?
That was not what we were offered.
Yes, we did.
Why do you love the deal?
No.
I'm sorry, you're wrong.
No.
Theresa May said no deal is better. What do you say?
We were promised a deal that would leave us better off.
Theresa May said no deal is better than a bad deal.
And I love the deal.
Explain
I
why.
tell you why?
You don't love
because it puts an end to it. It's
that's
over.
not a reason.
They have the transition period. They can do the final points. We have a country where we are, in many cities, starting to lose the streets to violent young thugs. We can't focus on that because Brexit has sucked the life out of this administration. We are approaching the winter where there are very dire warnings about the efficiency of our National Health Service. It has sucked the life out of that. We have schools where, sadly, they are underperforming. If this gets the Brexit, if it means that we can move... Of course, in reality, reality, it's like most things in life. I remember when in London, Ken Livingstone introduced the congestion charge. I will finish on this point. And we fought almost like Karen and Carole we used to fight on the radio. And one day the red light went off and you have those marvellous off-mic moments with the people you're interviewing. And Ken Livingstone leant forward to me and he said some wise words. He said, do you know what? I interviewed him for years. It's how he goes. So, in reality, Nick, congestion charge will not be as great as I'm saying it's going to be, and it's not going to be as dire as you're saying it's going to be. With most things in life, it will be in the middle, and that's what I think about Brexit. It's not Carole's Brexit.
There is a point you've said that's the end of it. It's not. You've got
the transition.
You've got 585 pages of just the withdrawal agreement, which is 3 issues: Northern Ireland, people's rights, and this £39 billion. The main issue is what is the future going to be like for us? And that is 26 pages of waffle.
Right.
It's not legal. It's got to be negotiated over the next few years. They say the end of 2020. We've already said we might to extend it beyond 2020 to 2022. Then, on top of that, the backstop with Northern Ireland,
will keep us
which we cannot remove ourselves from. So the uncertainty continues. That's the sad thing about it.
You have to accept we cannot be in a position... But wait a second. We cannot be in a position, we cannot accept the backstop thing. We can't be in a position where the EU gets to say if, when and how we leave. Currently, we have the freedom to leave if we want to. We can't let them dictate.
Can I just, before you do that, quickly bring in what Jean-Claude Juncker, the President of the European Commission, said? Because, just to pick up on Nick's point, just to clarify that a better deal is not actually an option right now. This is what Juncker says.
I'm inviting those who have to ratify this deal in the House of Commons to take this in consideration. This is the best deal possible for Britain. This is the best deal possible for Europe. This is the only deal possible.
Yes.
I hear you, but it's a fantasy. This deal has got no hope in hell of getting through the Commons.
I didn't say it did. I just said I love it.
There's no point talking about it like it's
Jeremy Corbyn finally seems to have found his sense of humour. Have a look at this.
Good.
The Prime Minister said, this is the best possible deal, it's the only possible deal. Well, I mean to say, it's not hard to be the best deal if it's the only deal. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, by definition, it's also the worst deal.
I never thought I'd say I agree with Jeremy. Let alone laugh at one of his jokes, but there we are.
I'm on there.